Well, good afternoon and welcome to our daily briefing for the 15th of April. It's the middle of April and it snowed. And while some are suggesting that I need to take responsibility for that, you don't want me controlling the weather. So with me today is Commissioner Josh Slotnick from Missoula County, and also our Missoula County Public Schools Superintendent, Dr. Rob Watson. Welcome, gentlemen, and thanks for joining today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have a few questions to check in with you about. We're excited to learn some more about the school district's response to this, and did want to give one plug of saying I was stretching out here in my living room at dark 30, and I heard the snowplows going by. So there's Missoula County hard at work. So they're about the county. So, Dr. Watson, what surprised you most about your staff's response to this crisis, this whole new way of doing school?
You know, first of all, I just really appreciate the time and the opportunity to talk and kind of share with our community what we're working on. I think probably what surprised me the most was how quickly we made the switch. Granted, it's not perfect, but our remote learning plan has been rolled out, and parents and kids are doing the best job that they can. But what surprised me the most was how quickly our staff was able to adapt to a new platform and stand up some lesson plans and some activities for kids that they felt kids could do at home. And so it just took a lot of coordination and a lot of planning and a lot of people working together. But I was pleasantly surprised how quickly it all came together.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, it's been very impressive. So, Rob, those parents and students who are at home working through lesson plans, trying to figure out online learning. In some cases, parents are working simultaneously, and there might be littler siblings in the house. And what's your advice for parents and kids who are trying to wrestle this to the ground?
We've been messaging weekly, if not multiple times each week, about how important it is for folks to take their time, not get frustrated, put it away if they need to, and come back to it later. Last week, we sent sort of a few talking points to our parents for them to think about as they're thinking about online learning. And it really resonated with me. And I didn't come up with these on my own. Our staff worked on these, but we said health should always come before homework, and family should always come before frustration.
That's good.
And learning should really come before letter grades. So I know that in this time, people think about letter grades and they think about what's happening with their grades. And really, it's not about your letter grade at this point. It's more about learning.
Yeah, those are three great principles that might even carry on post-crisis. Those are really solid.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that I think is really important for parents to hear is that during this time, we understand it's not going to look the same as it does in school. And so really the goal right now is just to keep kids engaged in learning. And it doesn't necessarily have to be formal things that you might think about are learning. So a lot of times we recommend parents just, if kids are getting frustrated, encourage them to read a book or find something like a board game that involves math. But any one of those things keeps kids engaged in learning, and that's the most important goal right now. The worst thing we can do is just, have kids disengaged. But if we can keep them engaged in learning activities throughout this closure, it'll help when we get finished.
Great. So are there some specific new challenges you and your staff have had to overcome to meet the needs of students in this new learning environment?
Yeah, I would say our very first challenge that we tackled, and I do feel fortunate because we had spring break to work on this, and that first week of closure was actually our spring break. But our first real challenge was to make sure that our students were still fed. We understand that our breakfast program and our lunch program really do feed a lot of kids through the regular school year. And we know that we needed to get that up and rolling as quickly as possible. In addition to that, we often send food packs home on Friday afternoons with kids that might need food over the weekend. And we know that those are sort of essential services to have in place. As an educator, I learned a long time ago that kids really don't learn very well if they're hungry. It's really hard to teach students or engage students if they're hungry. And so that's one of those basic things that we knew that we had to get up and rolling fairly quickly.
Well, you've done such a remarkable job with that, and we are so grateful for what you and your team have been able to do to get those thousands, tens of thousands of meals out to kiddos. Such a huge deal. You've done it innovatively and really what appears from our perspective anyway, without a hiccup. So thank you for that. Big deal.
An incredible achievement for sure. To go from nothing to having buses plying the neighborhoods, delivering food in a way that never happened before, pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. So this is your probably the question you're getting the most today as we head toward June at a sort of astonishing rate. What about graduation, Rob?
Yeah, good question. And I want to point something out that I told our school board last night. We know that this is a tough time for all kids and families, but it's especially hard for our senior class. They really, what we know about seniors is, this is a stressful time. They're wrapping up their K-12 public school experience. They're trying to get their deadlines met for graduation. They're trying to get their credits. They're also at the same time getting ready to go to college or going into the military or whatever happens after high school, and that all is very stressful. And then on top of all that, they're saying goodbye to their friends in some situations. So this time of year is already a stressful time for seniors, but this just adds to it. It adds a level of complexity that we never knew or expected. And so I've encouraged our school board, and I would encourage our entire community to just be real sensitive for our senior class and recognize that this is a difficult time for them. We would love to have kids back in school and wrap up the school year. That would be ideal for us as educators. We missed kids. We miss being around kids. Teaching remotely or teaching virtually is just not in our nature. We went into this business because we like being around kids and we like educating kids in person. So we would love to have kids back in school. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We're really watching to hear what the governor has to say and watching some of the other triggers before we would ever consider reopening schools. There would be a lot of things that would have to happen. And having said that, that's the same thing for our senior class. There's a ton of year-end activities that happen for our senior class, including prom and graduation and any other year-end parties or graduation parties that they might be involved in. We know that those are really key milestones and key important things for our kids, but we also know that under the current restrictions, those would be very difficult to have. So, for example, can you imagine bringing together, 3,000 to 5,000 people for a graduation ceremony? And under our current restrictions, we would never be allowed to do that. We don't want our actions to cause harm or put people in safety risks with this COVID-19. So we're watching that very closely. We're watching to see what the governor has to say about reopening. We're going to just hold off. I'd want to be real clear with anybody that asks me, we've made no decisions about graduation ceremonies. What we do know is that if there are currently restrictions in place by June 6th, when our graduation ceremony happens, if we still have some restrictions in place regarding crowd size, then we're going to have to adhere to those restrictions. I've been given a lot of feedback on some things, other alternatives to consider, like an outdoor graduation or stagger the school graduations over several days just to limit the crowd size. I think those are all excellent suggestions, but all of those things would have to align with any sort of restrictions, either from the governor's office or from the local county health department, any restrictions they might have. So we're in a holding pattern. We've made no decisions yet. We're going to watch to see how the next few weeks play out and see what sort of strategies we get from the governor and any sort of restrictions that might still be in place. But obviously, we'd want to be able to figure out a way to honor our graduates in the most appropriate way, given any restrictions we might have. And then the last thing I'd say, and this is where we really could use community's help, we need our entire community to help us figure out creative ways to honor our graduating seniors this year, especially this year. I know many times we do that as a family or we do that as a school, but I'd really encourage our entire community to get involved and figure out ways that we as a community can come together to honor our graduating seniors, especially during that first week of June when they would be going through ceremonies. It could be, signs that we put in your yard that just says congratulations seniors, or some sort of decoration you put on your house or on your car. But I'd love for the community to get involved and really celebrate our senior class.
Well, based on the way the communities come together, I suspect that we'll be able to sort that out. I mean, the fact of the matter is that that you're doing exactly the right thing, right? There is so much we don't know today, and so all we can do is err on the side of safety. And so far in our city and county, that strategy has worked out well. So we'll keep marching along, and I know that you can count on community support. I remember, my 8 years at Hellgate High School, I was ready to graduate and looking forward to the ceremony. But we'll sort it out one way or another.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're ready for you to graduate too, John.
I suspect that was the case as well. Yeah.
This dovetails nicely with my last question here. What can our community do to help? People who are going to want to help celebrate the seniors, help support the school district, teachers, students, all that. What would you have people do who really want to help?
Yeah, so good question. And that's probably the question I get the most from community members, either through email or phone calls. It's like they really want to do help and they're trying to figure out ways to help. We talked about our school delivery program earlier, our lunch program. That's going really, really well. We've served 23,000 students in March. And then just now in April, we've already served 24,000 students. We're serving about 1,100 to 1,300 meals per day. And just so folks understand, that's all part of our summer feeding program. And so that's all funded by a grant through the Office of Public Instruction and the federal food school lunch program. So that's not costing taxpayers anything to do that. That's really us using our resources. Really thankful for Beach Transportation to help us deliver those lunches. I think that's definitely increased the amount of folks that are participating. One thing that folks can help with is that on the weekends, as I mentioned before, we send home food packs as much as we can, and that food is generated by our local food bank, and those food packs are put together with the local food bank. So supporting our local food bank is probably the number one thing folks can do to really help get food into the hands of kids that need food. We have the delivery method to do it. We just need folks to help out with that part of the food that's needed. And then the last thing I would say is we were approached by a local business that would like to figure out a way to help. And one of the ways that they thought would be really effective would be to produce some T-shirts. I'm wearing one today. It says Missoula. Sorry, I forgot what it says. Our future. Say it one more time, Josh.
Rooting for our future.
Oh, thank you. It says Missoula, rooting for our future. Sorry, I couldn't read it backwards, but this is actually produced by a company called Wear Your Roots. A lot of people are familiar with this company in town. They produce a lot of stuff. They've actually asked if they could produce these T-shirts and sell them and take a big chunk of the proceeds and put it back into our food program, either through the food bank or through our program. We graciously accepted that. The other thing we know is at the other end of this, we will have families that come back to school that may have large lunch balances from previous in the year. So sometime we're not charging any kids right now during the closure, but some kids still have lunch balances from before the closure, and coming back and the shape our economy might be in, that might be a hardship for a lot of families to cover those lunch balances. So this company, Wear Your Roots, also wants to direct proceeds towards paying off lunch balances for kids. And we're more than happy to help with that process. So the only reason I'm wearing the shirt today, Rooting for Our Future, we want folks, if they're interested, to support. This is a way that they can support. They can order a t-shirt, or there's a bunch of other swag on their website that you can order if you'd rather not order a t-shirt with snow on the ground. But this is an opportunity for everybody to get involved and order some Wear Your Roots, Rooting for Our Future Missoula shirt. And if you're interested in that, it's really important that you either go to their website, mymontanaroots.com, t-shirts, hats, stickers with that Rooting for Our Future logo. So again, that's mymontanaroots.com. Or you can also visit their Facebook page. Again, the company is Wear Your Roots. So that's one way, which I think all of us can get involved in and supporting, and that money will go directly to feeding kids.
Thanks a lot.
That's fantastic. Yeah, full bellies, full minds, full hearts. You kind of got it all covered, Rob.
Hey, well said. Yeah.
Anything else you want folks to know?
I just, what I said earlier, what we've been telling our parents, I think, and saying the same thing to our staff, is please don't stress during this time. This is traumatic for all of us. The most important thing we can do right now is take care of ourselves, take care of our families. The other things will fall back into place. We're not worried about that. We know that kids will eventually be back in school, and we will get them caught up. And so the best thing I think for all of us to think about right now is just taking care of ourselves and taking care of our family as much as possible.
Well done. Yeah, we're lucky to have you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Commissioner Slotnick and I and other community leadership are on a daily phone call with Dr. Watson, and I can tell you he's compassionate, thoughtful, has kids and families first and foremost in his mind. So we are indeed lucky to have you, sir. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks for all the good work you're doing. Please extend our appreciation to your staff and faculty. We are thankful.
Will do. Thanks for the opportunity to get our message out today.
You bet.